Hi, it's Colin Cowherd at The Volume. We're going to give you Top 20, Last 20. Our look at the most dominant college football programs in America over the last 2 decades. We will use 4 criteria: winning, star power, consistency, and influence. Our top 20, last 20. Here we go. At number 20, Boise State, who would qualify for 10th if they were in a Power 5 conference. They're not, we put them at 20th. Their staggering consistency, 3 different coaches, won at least 78% of their games, 12 conference titles. They've got more star power in the NFL than you'd like to admit. But what really separates them from those who missed the list is they made the case singularly for small schools to be considered for a playoff inclusion. Boise State at 20. Number 19, Texas A&M. They only won 59% of their games and had some stretches of average. But 16 bowl appearances, they won half. They had a Heisman winner in Johnny Manziel and plenty of star power, from Von Miller to Myles Garrett to Mike Evans. The Aggies always feel like they should be higher. We put them at 19. Number 18, the Big Ten's Iowa Hawkeyes. 2 conference titles, though both are shared. George Kittle is their biggest star in the NFL, but they have over 10 more players in professional football in the last 2 decades than the Aggies. And their bowl record is a winning one. They also have a significantly higher winning percentage than the Aggies. Consistency, nobody matches up to Kirk Ferentz, their only coach in 20 years. Number 17, Michigan. What to do with the Wolverines? Wild swings like the lean Rich Rodriguez years or the Lloyd Carr years. He won 73%. 2 conference titles. 16 first-rounders helps, but they've been terrible in bowl games, 4-12. But between their fight song, uniform, stadium, and primetime ratings poll, they do have influence and narrowly edge, and I mean narrowly, the Hawkeyes. Penn State, a more consistent program over the last 20 years, edges out the Wolverines. 3 conference titles, star power helps too. Ever heard of Saquon Barkley? A significantly better bowl record, the consistency needs to be noted. Bill O'Brien, Joe Paterno, and James Franklin won at least 63% of their games. No big ugly swings like Michigan. Penn State at 16. Edged out by Wisconsin, the Badgers clock in at 15. They won almost 71% of their games, and that includes a winning bowl record. This program has far more star power than people realize. J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, Russell Wilson, Joe Thomas. It's a factory of Hall of Famers. 3 conference titles, and one of my favorite coaches in college football history, Barry Alvarez. I always think the Badgers are undervalued. They come from a state with almost no 5-star high school talent, but can go toe-to-toe with virtually anybody in the sport. At number 14, and this wasn't easy, Texas. Almost half our staff wanted Wisconsin here. They have a national title, though. They also have 2 conference titles, along with an over 70% winning percentage. And people may forget this about the Longhorns. Yes, they often underachieve, a lot. But in 17 bowl games, they won a staggering 13 of those. 14, Texas. Number 13, the SEC's Auburn Tigers. 3 different coaches won at least 63% of their games. Tommy Tuberville, Gene Chizik, and Gus Malzahn. They also have a Heisman winner and star power in Cam Newton, and they've got a national title. But they are the second best program in their own state, and let's be honest, don't they disappoint you at the end of the years more than make you feel good? Maybe the hardest choice in this entire list is number 12, we took Miami. Big swings, interim head coaches, massive erosion of the program. But they have 3 conference titles, a national title, and does anybody outside of Alabama or maybe Ohio State have more star power? Ed Reed, Reggie Wayne, Frank Gore, Andre Johnson. It's an NFL factory. Our problem with Miami is the first part of the decade was spectacular mostly, and the last 10 years have been ugly. But they make our list at 12. Number 11, Oregon. Yes, Oregon. They didn't start the decade as a power, but their influence is all over the sport. From pace of play to wild uniforms to the Kickstarter for the facility wars. Oregon has massive influence, not to mention 7 conference titles, a Heisman winner, and 4 different coaches won at least 67% of games. There's Mike Bellotti, Chip Kelly, Mark Helfrich, and now, currently, Mario Cristobal. Simply put, Oregon matters in college football. Number 10, Notre Dame. One of the harder teams to rank because they're not truly in a conference. There were some ups and downs, a bit of a roller coaster, but they had 8 strong seasons in 20 years. They also got to a national championship game. They also have 11 first-rounders and 138 players made the NFL. And the current momentum with Brian Kelly is excellent. We give them credit for their influence in the sport, which outside of maybe an Alabama and Ohio State is as big as anybody's. We consider Notre Dame a top 10 program over the last 20 years, but only at 10. Number 9, Georgia, a program that beat Notre Dame twice in the last couple of years. They've won 75% of their games and have an excellent 14-win, 7-loss bowl record, along with 3 conference titles. Not to mention, they've had 22 first-rounders. Matt Stafford, A.J. Green, Todd Gurley, and both Mark Richt and Kirby Smart won over 73% of their games. This is a football factory, often overshadowed by simply a better program in Alabama. Georgia at 9. The ACC's Florida State Seminoles are 8. Although wobbly during the Willie Taggart years, that was brief. Mostly it was Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Bowden. They have a national title and a Heisman with Jameis Winston. This is a program that appeared in 18 bowl games in 20 years and won 11. Always a recruiting power, the Noles at 8. At number 7, Clemson. Yes, they have 2 national titles, but remember this, Dabo Swinney wasn't around 20 years ago. He's only been there for the last 12. Now in that time, he's won 81% of his games. But they got off to a rocky start at the beginning of this decade, despite the fact they're red hot now. 26 fewer NFL players than Florida State at 8, but their current momentum and significance and influence at the sport puts them a spot ahead of the Noles. Number 6, and it may surprise some, Florida. They had some downs, but their ups were huge. 2 conference titles in the SEC and 2 national titles. They had a Heisman winner in Tim Tebow, who may be the single biggest college star over the last 20 years. That matters a lot to us. It's also a conveyor belt of NFL talent. 165 NFL players in 2 decades, 3rd most in college football. Wow. Number 5, and we'll get pushback, but it's USC. Sorry, NCAA, we don't worry about vacated titles and Heisman Awards. Reggie Bush would probably finish second to Tim Tebow as the biggest star in college football in 20 years. We have 8 conference titles, 74.3% winning percentage, with a rock star, influential on the West Coast in Pete Carroll. And though the program has been down in recent years, they have the 5th most first-rounders, 23. The USC Trojans, the fight song The Stadium, major influence in college football. Now it gets tight. Number 4, the Oklahoma Sooners. 0 national titles. And if you're thinking, hey, they won a national title. Nope. This is called Top 20, Last 20. And that was 21 years ago. 13 conference titles and 20 bowl games, though a sub-500 record. They've won a staggering 80 90.8% of their games. They also have 4 Heisman winners and have had 2 Hall of Fame level coaches, Bob Stoops and Lincoln Riley. They don't have as many first rounders as a school like Florida, but dominating a conference, even if it's the Big 12, has been so noteworthy, they make it into our number 4 slot. Number 3, LSU. 3 national championships. The legendary Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron all won at least 76% of their games. They've got a Heisman winner too, and have won 13 of 20 bowl games, not to mention almost 77% of their games. But their NFL influence is unbelievable. 166 players made the NFL. If Alabama didn't exist, how many more possible national titles would they have? Number 2, the Buckeyes. 2 national titles, 11 conference titles, a Heisman winner. Here's an easy way to sum up how great Ohio State is. Jim Tressel won 83% of his games. That was topped by Urban Meyer, who won 90% of his games. Oh wait, that was topped by Ryan Day, who's won 92% of his games. They also have 178 players drafted into the NFL in 2 decades. Most in college football. And number 1 is nothing we've ever seen is Alabama. 6 national titles says it all. 3 Heisman winners don't hurt. But Nick Saban, in the toughest conference in the sport, has won 88% of his games. They've had 39 first rounders, easily the most in college football. The greatest college coach and the most dominant college football program in my life, Alabama, is number 1. And there's your top 20, the last 20.